A stem plot, or a stem and leaf plot, is another way of displaying data. Here we have an example of a local kitten rescue that deals with hundreds of abandoned and newborn kittens each year. And below are some of the weights in grams for kittens less than 1 week old. For a stem and leaf plot, the leaves are going to be the ones place, and the stem is going to be the tens and hundreds place. First, we want to give our chart a name. Here we have the weights in grams. Next, if you skim through the data, you're going to see that the lowest value is somewhere in the 70s, and the highest value is somewhere in the 120s. So our stems are going to go from 7 up to 12. The leaves will then represent the other portion of the data value. For example, the 7 represents the 70s portion of the data value for 78. For the data value 84, we would write 84. Now the problem becomes that when we have a stem and leaf plot, we have to be able to put all of these data values onto our plot in numerical order. The easiest way to do this is to enter our data into the list feature and sort it in an ascending order. Ascending order means that I'm going to put my data in order from smallest to largest data value, which is what we need when we're trying to make a stem and leaf plot. The step-by-step instructions above will help you to be able to do this. First press Stat and then Sort A. You'll notice on your calculator screen that it is now waiting for you to tell it the list of where your data is stored. My list is stored in List 1. So I'll need to hit second and then the number 1 on my calculator. This will enter L1. When I hit enter, it's going to show me done. That means that when I go back into the list feature, all of my data values will be entered from smallest to largest. Notice now that I can then see all of my data starting from 78, and if I use the down arrow, I will be able to see all of those data values. For the leaf portion, you're going to write just the ones place that represents each data value. So for example, I've already written this first one, which is 84. I have 2 data values that are 84, so I'm going to want to enter another 4 on my chart to represent the second data value. So while my stem and leaf plot shows the number 44, that does not mean actually 44. That represents 2 data values, 84 and 84 again. When you see the number 445, that represents 3 data values, 84, 84, and 85. You're going to continue this process for all the values representing 80s. Once you're done with the 80s, you'll now move on to the 90s. So my first data value is 90, and then 92, 92. Again, for each data value in the 90s, I'm only writing down the ones place. So each value that I see in the leaf will represent 1 data value in the 90s for each individual kitten. That's what they weighed in grams. Next, for our data value 100, because the first 2 digits are the tens place, I still want to only enter in the 0 or the ones place on my chart. For example, the number 3 here represents the data value 103 or 103 grams for a particular kitten. Continuing on, I will have all of the data values represented in this stem and leaf plot. Again, when I pull out any particular data value, for example, the number 1 here on this line, that represents 121 grams for a particular kitten that was weighed for this particular rescue. When you create your stem and leaf plot, again, they must always be in numerical order from smallest to largest, and we do not separate anything by commas. You can also sometimes see the distribution of the data. Occasionally it's difficult to be able to see how this data is displayed, whether it's a normally distributed data, a skewed left or skewed right. So oftentimes you'll need to be able to make histograms to be able to see that more adequately.